Welcome everybody to this 52 Living Ideas. Today, we are beginning a series on mindfulness meditation. Now, each of these sessions are standalone sessions, so you can come in at any point of time, and we put them all up on YouTube, so you can go back and look at the sessions that you have missed. This is based on a course that comes out of University of Massachusetts. And it's a very systematic course. It's designed to be a self-study course. So it is designed so that you can actually look at these web pages and the reading material on it and the videos on it and by yourself, and you can practice it. That's what it is designed for. But what we are trying to do is that we are trying to do this course as a group because we can learn from each other. We can clarify any kind of problems that one of us has. We can be motivated to continue practicing on a regular basis. So the idea is that we will present the first session on one day, so today, for example, and then for the rest of the week, we practice on our own. And then we come back a week later, the next Tuesday, we will review. Don't worry, it's going to be a very gentle review. Each person just gets to talk about what they found. And if you have not failed, if you have not been able to do it, that's fine. But it's a good idea to, it's kind of like accountability. If you actually commit to doing it, there is a chance that you will actually do it on a regular basis. Maybe you don't do it every day. Maybe you do twice a week or thrice a week, and slowly over time, you make it a regular practice. And so what we'll do is I will do a quick review of what we learned the previous week, and then we will go into the next week. So the format today is Taylor is going to present on the first week of the course. After the presentation, anybody who has read the web page and has seen some of the videos is welcome to talk about what they got from it. On this topic of body awareness, or if you are familiar with this concept, you're welcome to talk and contribute on that. After which we'll take general Q&As. After which we're going to have a poem followed by a meditation led by Easy. And then we're going to go to breakout rooms for about 20-25 minutes, where we are going to be discussing how we're going to apply these ideas that we learned. And in about 20-25 minutes, we are going to come back into the main room, and each person gets to talk about their takeaways. And then we end the meetup. So that's the plan. All right. So again, welcome everybody. This is the first session of our mindfulness meditation course. And I'm going to hand it over to Taylor. Taylor, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So today I will go over the videos and the readings that were part of week 1. So there were 5 videos, anywhere from 3 minutes to 15 minutes, and 4 shortish readings that were anywhere from like 1 to 3 pages. So I'll go over those. And then there was something called the formal and informal practice for the week. So I'll just briefly kind of like run over what those were as well. So the first video is called The Power of Mindfulness. And the speaker in that, it was a TEDx talk, and the speaker was Shauna Shapiro, and she's a clinical psychologist and a professor, just to give some background on her, where she's coming from. And I guess, why don't we just take a minute here too, and in the chat, why doesn't everyone just type in a percentage of time that they think the mind is wandering, or you're not present? So let's see. Okay, a couple people have seen the video. So we have 47%, 100%, 98, 90, 50, 75, 95, 90, 50, 25. Yeah, so all great guesses, 50, 80%. So the actual answer to that is 47%. So Shauna says that the mind is wandering 47% of the time. So that means almost half of our waking lives were spent kind of lost in thought, in the past, in the future, ruminating about things that aren't actually happening right in the here and now. So her path to meditation and mindfulness was that she learned to meditate at a Tibetan monastery. And then after that became really excited about this idea and did some further research into the neuroscience behind it. And there's lots of science that talks about the neuroplasticity of meditation. So what that means is that through repetition and practice, we can actually reshape our brains and cause new neural connections. And what that looks like is a more empathic person, more compassionate, less stressed. And these are all, and if you've seen the talk, they kind of show brain images of the before and after of people who, or just images of people who meditate and the things that are happening in their brain. So one thing she also focuses on is this idea called kind attention. So she uses this idea to combat negative thoughts and negative thinking. And what kind attention is, often in mindfulness, we just hear about like attention. And she kind of adds on this additional portion called kind attention, which is paying attention with kindness. So her definition of mindfulness is really about paying attention in the moment, intentionally, and then also with kindness and gentleness. And for those of you who were maybe tuned in last week, the speaker last week expanded on this idea of gentleness and kindness in our meditation practices. So then one practical thing, and this is the last note for her talk, that she said at the end of her talk is that one thing we can do to cultivate this kindness in ourselves is when we wake up in the morning to simply greet yourself, good morning. So the way that she does this is she says, good morning, Shauna. And if you really are, looking to really jump into this and take it a step further, you can say, I love you, and then your name. So it's about recognizing our thoughts, changing our thoughts, and cultivating a kindness for ourselves. And the reason just to back up for a brief moment, why she kind of offers this to us is that as part of her studies, she looked at the thoughts of people cross-culturally. And cross-culturally, a lot of the reoccurring kind of negative thoughts that come up are, I'm not good enough, and just these kind of like very judgmental thoughts. So her response to that is to kind of cultivate a new way to talk to yourself. So the next video was called Don't Try to Be Mindful by Darren Larson. And this was my favorite video of this week. And so he's someone who's been meditating for 13 years. And right off the bat, he really asked us to focus on the process and the action of meditating and not so much the outcome. Because if we're focused on the outcome, then that's going to kind of get in the way of the experience that we're trying to have. And I really liked an analogy he gave that I thought was really helpful, especially if you're just getting started in meditation. And that analogy he used was, is if you're trying to have a new fitness regime or incorporate more fitness into your life, and you've decided that you're now going to take the stairs instead of taking the elevator. When you're taking the stairs, it's going to be difficult. You kind of know it's going to be difficult, but you push through that and you keep doing it because we've already been kind of taught that that's something you have to get through to pursue a higher level of fitness. But for whatever reason with meditation, we hit this wall in meditation. We have these preconceived notions that meditation is supposed to be easy. But meditation is very similar to going to the gym and working out in the sense that it's going to be difficult. Things are going to come up. You need to kind of, consistently work through that and push through that to see the results, just like anything else. So when you are approaching meditation, you know, a lot of us think that it's going to be this like very blissful, immediately, you know, transcendent experience, but that's not the reality of it. The reality of it is exactly like working out or taking the stairs, and that it's difficult, but you do it because there's benefits to it. So he also talks about meditation as a solution to living with narrative constraints. And what he means by that is that we all have this dialogue in our head that's telling us who we are, what we need to do. You know, that's just a constant narrative that's judging, assessing, I like this, I dislike that. And what meditation is it doesn't shut that off, but it's a solution to that, in that it creates a way for us to kind of rightly relate ourselves to those thoughts, so we can have a different relationship with them. And we don't have to keep labeling them, pushing them away, and creating bad habits or destructive habits. And instead, we can use those thoughts and just be aware of those thoughts and not be so controlled by them. So he says too that mindfulness is a way that, or by stopping that narrative and being aware of that, or being aware of the narrative, what you're doing is you're stopping the effects that they have. One quote too that I really liked that he said was that living in the present will go a lot better when you accept how frequently the present sucks. And so his whole thing is kind of like to accept that life is messy, and that meditation isn't going to like clean up your life, but it's going to it'll help you accept that mess and accept it, that it's messy for you, it's messy for others, and that's just that's what it is. So the next video was very short. It was like 3 or 4 minutes, so I won't say too much on that, but it was called Befriending Our Bodies, and it was by Jung Kabat-Zinn, and he's the mastermind really behind this course. And he describes mindfulness as living with an embodied being. So what that means is, instead of living in our heads, so a lot of times, for example, like you're hungry, you're thirsty, you kind of get these cues, and then we just kind of immediately react to them. But what he's asking us to do, and I'll get to this later on when we talk about the body scan, but what he's asking us to do is, instead of responding to the mind, to bring the body into that as well, and to be mindful of the cues that our body is giving us. And again, it's a way to non-judgmentally move through our life, so that we're not responding all the time to things that we like or dislike. And so actually this wasn't the last video, but this was kind of the last in the speaking series of videos. This video was called All Bodies Are Beautiful, and it was by Amy Pence Brown. So this one was different from a lot of the other videos because they were speeches in a way, or they were talks. And this one was a public art project that this woman, Amy Pence Brown, put on. And she is to give you a visual, she's a real size woman. And she it was a public space in Idaho, and she had on her bathing suit. And what she did was she stood publicly and she blindfolded herself and held 2 markers and had a sign in front of her asking people to write hearts or supporting messages on her if they would also like to support a positive body image. So and then kind of at the end of the video, so the video is really all silent. You see her and you see this sign, and then it's, 5 minutes of just kind of people interacting with her in this project. And then at the end, there's a closing there's a closing slide that says, in a society that profits from your self-doubt, liking yourself is a rebellious act. And I really think that that succinctly describes, for myself too, exactly kind of, I think that that can directly relate to our meditation practice, because I think we live in a society that profits on our attention. And what meditation does is it's a way to combat that kind of monkey brain mind that we're checking Twitter, we're on social media, where we thought we were going to wash the dishes and now we're out, you know, weeding, or, you know, just kind of all these different things. And what meditation does is it allows us to choose what we're going to focus on, and allows the distractions to be there, but doesn't let them affect us. So I thought that that was a really important and strong parallel that was being drawn there. So the first reading I'll talk about was called Mouthfuls of Mindfulness, and I'll just talk about this one briefly as well. And this one was interesting because it was talking about, and it kind of walked us through a woman's journey with how she relates to food. And so oftentimes with food, the article described how we first it talks about how we unconsciously relate to food, which is it's mealtime, it's noon, so we just kind of grab whatever we have, we eat it without kind of any thought, and it's, you know, it's kind of how we live most of our lives, and then it's kind of like on to the next thing. And then she kind of walks us through how we can be more mindful in our eating. So there's this short story about this woman who eats chips mindfully, and then what she discovers is that you know, maybe she used to eat the whole bag of chips while watching something on TV when she should have been, or when she wanted to be writing a speech that she was giving and focusing on that, but she had anxious feelings about writing this speech. So therefore, she kind of wasn't aware of those feelings, not so much in touch with the body and where those are coming from. So as a result, she interprets that kind of anxiety as a cue to eat, and then eat unconsciously, and then ends up eating a whole bag of chips and doesn't work on her speech, and then goes to bed. And then so she kind of walks us through what I call kind of the life cycle of food, in the way that we can think about food when we're eating mindfully or when we're eating very consciously. So instead of just kind of eating without any recognition of what we're doing, we can stop and pause, and we can think about, where did this food come from? What resources went into this? How did this get in front of me? And you'll see this, we'll talk about this briefly too in a Raisin meditation that was this week, but thinking about all of the people and the time and the effort and like the locations and in everything that it took to get that piece of food like in front of you. So it's like a lot larger than what we normally view to be true about our food. So these next two articles I thought were very similar to each other. The first one is called 7 Myths of Meditation, and the author of this one is Deepak Chopra. So number one, the first myth of meditation is that it's difficult and it's only for skilled or holy people. And the truth is that meditation is difficult for everyone, and it's not just for skilled or holy people, or people who kind of have a spiritual inclination, in that everyday people can use meditation, can gain from meditation, and that there's so many different types of meditation that there isn't a one size fits all, and that there really is something for everyone, whether it's movement, whether it's sitting, whether it's singing, dancing, you know, there's a whole scope of meditation. So number 2 is the mind has to be quiet. And this goes back to I think the second video that I talked about with Darren Larson, and it's not about the mind quieting, and it's not about getting rid of the mess of life, but what it is it's strengthening our relationship to those thoughts and rightly relating ourselves to them so that they're not in control of us, but instead they're things that happen and that are separate from us. So number 3 is it takes years to benefit from meditation. And the response and the reading to that was that there's this Harvard University study that was done over 8 weeks. So people meditated for 8 weeks. And in the brain, there was, they looked at the neuroscience behind it. And in the brain, there was increased memory, empathy, stress, and a sense of self across the participants. Number 4 is meditation is escapism. So I think the response to that is that meditation is not escapism. And in fact, it's being even more in tune with who you are, what your thought patterns are, and what your habitual behaviors are. So if anything, you're kind of diving deeper as opposed to escaping. Number 5 is I don't have the time. There's no time to meditate. And I think for this one, I just like to address like my experience with meditation is that the more that I meditate and the more that I make time for it, the more productive I am in all areas of my life. And in fact, this even comes up very practically in my performance reviews with employers. You know, I'm often situated as someone who's very like focused and productive and works very quickly. And I really owe that. And I recognize that is the direct result of my meditation and just kind of this ability to really zone in on what it is that I'm doing. And I guess one other thing I'd like to add to that before I move on to number 6 is that it doesn't take that. Say you're going to meditate for 10 or 15 minutes. How long has everyone in here kind of zoned out on Instagram or social media or watched a show for too long that went on for longer than 10 to 15 minutes where you could, receive the benefits of meditation instead? And so number 6 is that meditation requires religious or spiritual belief. That is also not true. There's a lot of, actually most practices and techniques, especially in the West, are not affiliated with, any sort of like religious belief. And and you can go and really just learn about the technique. And then we'll get into that a little bit further in the next reading. So number 7 and the last one of this series is we're supposed to have transcendent experience. And although some people have transcendent experiences in meditation, meditation can help you regardless of that. Like we said, just to reiterate, with the attention and being present and mindful in this moment isn't always a transcendent experience, but it is helpful because it will help guide you to kind of away from old negative habit patterns and into new ones. So this next series is very similar, so I'll move a little quicker through this, but this one is why we find it hard to meditate. So number 1 is too busy, and the response to this is, it only takes 10 to 15 minutes of one's time to benefit. Number 2 is it's uncomfortable. Yes, meditation can be very comfortable, but it's the process of sitting with that and recognizing that even if it's uncomfortable, we don't have to respond in ways that harm us based on that discomfort. Number 3, I can't stop thinking. It's not about stopping thinking. In fact, it's just about being aware of those thoughts and then choosing, and then being able to choose what you want to do and where you want to go from there. Number 4 is, I think it's a very kind of like logistical idea. So there's too many distractions. My apartment is too noisy. My kids are screaming. I don't have the space to meditate. And the response to that is, if those things are happening, that's also part of your meditation, is to be able to, or to try to sit with those things and let those things happen, because meditation isn't about shutting things out, but it's about allowing things to be separate from yourself, so that you can benefit and stay true to yourself. Number 6 is, I'm no good at it. So we talked about this earlier too, that the point isn't to have kind of this transcendent experience. The point is to know yourself better. And number 7 is that this is the last one here too, is that meditation is this new agey kind of like advertising thing that, you know, that I don't want to be a part of. And I think the response to that is, people have been meditating for thousands of years. And the Buddha was meditating over 250,000 years ago. And that technique and the learnings from that have lasted on since then and have continued to help people. So this is like a very old practice. This isn't something that's very new. So then I'll move on to the body scan. So this is our last overview of the video and reading series. So in the body scan, and this again was written by Jung Kabat-Zinn, and so he starts off by describing the body scan. So what the body scan is it's a systematic way to be aware of your body. So I think the way he describes it is, you start at your feet and you're just kind of aware. You start at the feet in like one leg, and you're kind of aware of sensations, if you can be aware of sensations in that area. And then you slowly move your attention up one leg, and then you do the same thing with the other leg. And then you move to the torso and the back, the arms and the head. And you kind of continue in this way from, there's different schools that teach this like slightly differently, but I think the way he describes it was to the feet, to that, and then to the head, and then to the head and back again. And what he really, I think, zooms in on is that as we do this and as we speak about it, so as I'm even speaking about this now, I'm saying, you know, I have this body and there's sensations in my body. So I'm kind of giving an object. In every meditation, there's always an object. So if you're going to sing, the object is the song. If you're going to do yoga, the object is, you know, the asanas and like the postures. If you're going to sit and do a body sensation meditation, then it's the sensations of your body. And so he's saying that with this, you know, when you describe it to someone, you're describing this object, this body, this sensation. And then you're also talking about a subject. So I'm the subject. I am the perceiver, the thinker, the observer of my body and the sensations in my body. And what happens is, as you meditate and that you have the experience of being aware of the sensations in your body, what happens is those two merge, and you kind of have what you end up with, and this is an idea of mindfulness meditation, is that you don't have things that are separate from each other, but that the awareness is both the object and the subject together. And what you will observe and be aware of is that the two are connected and they rise and fall together. So an example of this would be, I have a, pain in any part of the body. I have a pain in my knee. And as I observe that pain, maybe the thoughts I have in my head are kind of pushing that pain away. I'm upset that I have this pain. So I kind of have these thoughts that are arising because of this pain. And then on the flip side, if I have a pleasant sensation in my body, say I'm a grandmother and I'm thinking about my grandchildren, and that brings a nice, pleasant feeling in my body, and then I'm happy. So what happens is we see how these two things, which is like both the mind, the thoughts, and the body, are interconnected and how they work together. And then to wrap up the body scan, John Kabat-Zinn really focuses on that it's normal during the body scan to pick up on sensations that we wouldn't otherwise notice in our everyday life when we're moving more quickly and we're not as present. And he also said that what comes out of the body scan is that we become aware of all of the sensations of our body. So our experience broadens, our conscious experience broadens. And what happens when that happens, when we have this broader awareness, is that we have less emotional reactivity to daily life that brings up kind of these negative sensations. So it doesn't mean that, so now when bad things happen in my life, I am no longer going to react at all. But what that means is that bad things happen in my life, I feel that in my body, and now I can choose how I want to react to that, instead of having a reaction, an unconscious reaction that I later, regret. So next I'll talk about, there was a raisin meditation video. I'll just briefly talk about that, and then the formal and informal practice and just what those were, so that when they come up in conversation, people who maybe didn't do their reading will know what we're referring to. So the raisin meditation, I believe the man who led it, his name was Dave Potter. And so he asks us to have 2 raisins, and he does a mindfulness exercise where we consider the life of that raisin. Where did the raisin come from? It used to be a grape. What processes needed to go into that grape to make it a raisin? And so now I'm holding the raisin and I'm about to eat this raisin. What are the sensations in my mouth? And then even as I put it in my mouth, he asked us to like hold it on our lips before we even put it in our mouth. So then maybe like the sensations in the mouth become even more heightened. He talks about the textures. He wants us to touch it. He even asks us, he's like, this is a little strange, yes, but why don't you try and like squish it a little bit and like hear it? So really just trying to have a more holistic experience with that raisin than just, taking a raisin, putting it in your mouth, and that's it, and then going on with your day. So, and then the formal and informal practice. So the formal practice this week was we were asked to practice the body scan for six times out of the 7 days of this week. And then he offered a worksheet where we could put down our reactions to that and kind of just like notes on how the meditation went. Maybe you know, certain memories came up. Maybe the mind was really wild one day, and maybe one day for whatever reason it was calmer. And so just kind of like noting that, you know, that impermanence, that up and down, that is life, that goes back to the messiness of life that that was talked about in one of the earlier videos. And then for the informal practice, I actually, the informal practice, I too want to stress, I think that it's equally as important. And so the informal practice this week was before you go to bed at night and as you're going throughout your day, to recognize the times during your day that were very mundane, but that you chose to be present. So an example of that would be when you're washing the dishes. Maybe you went for a walk. Maybe you felt frustrated, so you just decided to sit for 10 seconds and just observe yourself. And so we were asked at the end of the day before bed to try to remember one situation where we brought ourselves back to the present moment, and what kind of how we felt before that, what happened when we became more present, and then how we felt after that. And I've been meditating pretty seriously for around like 5 or 6 years now. And what has happened in practicing, having a daily practice in that time, is that I do this quite naturally. And I actually didn't realize that until kind of going back through this course, and then having to kind of like pay attention to that, and just realizing that it's really because of my meditation practice that change, like habit pattern in my mind has like truly become just a part of my everyday life and kind of how I experience and move through the world. So I just want to stress too that there is like real transformation to be had with meditation, and that the first woman, Shauna, in the first video I talked about, she also talks about how it's very important to not only meditate in some sort of like formal way, but the whole, you know, benefit and the whole point of it is that you can then bring it into your life and help it, or use it to help yourself and help others. So
Okay.
with that, I will end and I will pass it back to Shrikant.
Thanks, Taylor. There was a great overview of everything that is there. Now, folks, I mean, what I would recommend is that, you know, keep track of things that you found interesting and go and follow up on those things. You know, you can watch the videos that you found interesting. Those are all there on the page, the Meetup page, or the link that I put in there. Now, what I want to do is that I'm going to invite people who have read the page themselves and have watched some of the videos to talk briefly about, for maybe 2-3 minutes, about what were the highlights for them. What is it that remains with them? What is it that they're planning to do? So I'm going to start with Noel. Noel, go ahead.
Thank you. I guess my favorite video was probably Shauna's. So I picked up on the 47% because half of our time is spent in other thought. I thought, well, that's it's good to know that so you can begin to own it a little bit. The other thing I was really intrigued by is how many of them are body awareness exercises. I did hear what you said, Taylor, about the fact that there are different practices, but the raisin one, which I found quite fascinating, 12 minutes on 2 raisins, that's really going some. But a lot of, half of it was really a body sensation and, you know, looking at it, smelling it, tasting it, all of those. And then they got into how it had been transported. The body awareness one, where the woman was in the bathing suit, was all about body. And, you know, she was getting the sensation of people hugging her and touching her. And then I was surprised at all the hearts that were all over her when she was done. But the body scan one as well. So how many of the exercises, the mindful eatingness. So while it's a mindfulness exercise, I was intrigued at how much focus there was on the body. And it's that body-mind connection that you're really interested in, because that you were flagging, Taylor, because so much of our space and time is spent in our heads, for many of us anyway. So to make that connection, and I practice spiritual direction. I do some training in that, but often try and get people out of whatever their mind senses are into what is their body telling them, because there's a whole different awareness that can be there. So I was intrigued, but to find it in all the, you know, I've skimmed some of the pieces, I haven't fully read them, but in the videos and in the literature, just what a body, an embodied experience this was all being focused as.
Thank you. Thank you, Noel. Sarah, would you like to comment on what were your takeaways, or what is it that, what were your highlights?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I just started this today, so my plan is to do week 1 this upcoming week. And for me, I was only able to watch the first 2 videos, haven't done any of the reading yet, but I did work on the getting started in MBSR worksheet. And I found that that was really helpful for me to be mindful of making a plan for how I was going to practice every day, and also what my goals are for the course. And if you haven't looked at that, it's just really simple to fill out. It's 1 page. And I think that writing down what I hope to get from this course was just so helpful, because otherwise, I mean, I had some ideas, but putting it in writing really helped to streamline and make those ideas really specific. And then it also helps with thinking about when to practice. And for me, being consistent with the meditation practice is one of the reasons that I'm interested in this course. So I had to think through when I was going to practice each day, and when I was going to look at the videos and go through the readings. And hopefully I'll be able to follow through with that. Yeah, that was what Wonderful. I got out of it the most.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Next up is Lynn. Lynn, would you like to comment?
First, I want to say thank you for putting this together. I'm really excited about this new format and this free course. I sent it to all my kids, said y'all need to get on this. So I've been meditating off and on for about 10, 15 years, and more on the past 3 years when I was studying aging. And one of the studies said that people who meditated long term, like 20, 25 years, they had signs of dementia show up later in their life. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a good reason to meditate more regularly. So body scans was actually one of the first meditations I used to do that was a passive type of meditation. I used to do other types that, you know, I was trying to make my mind do certain things. So a friend of mine turned me on to the body scan, and I've moved past that, but it was interesting reading the benefits of it, because I kind of think of my meditation is noticing what comes up in my body, you know, and tying it to what I'm thinking or feeling or experiencing. But to see looking at it from the flip side of noticing the body first, and then as you're doing that, what comes up, you know. So that was really cool. And in the introduction, they said that the science part of it, one of them that I thought was really, it was just a flip across the screen in one of the videos, is that, no, I think he went into it, that people who meditated while taking a psoriasis treatment healed faster or had more healing in their psoriasis than the people who didn't meditate. So the fact that our minds can actually heal our bodies just by taking 20 or 30 minutes a day to be centered. That's 3.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
And then the last one was, oh, hold on, I wrote it down. Oh, the kindness. She says, you know, basically what we focus on grows. And I was always taught to meditate non-judgmentally and say, oh, this is here, and not put a negative connotation on it. But I like the fact that she puts a kindness on it and says, not only is it here, but it's welcome. And so she's growing kindness in her life by doing that. So that was really cool.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lynn. CP Rao, would you like to share what you got?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Srikanth. I went through all the videos as well as the reading material on Sunday. This is a really very structured program. The way I see it, very organized. It has the background. It has the material that you can follow along, and it has those logs, the formal practice, informal practice. You can really log your outcomes after 30 minutes of the body scan and throughout the day before you go to bed. I like it really the whole program as such. Though I'm not new to the meditation, I went to on and off. I've been doing meditation for the last 3 years. I went to Vipassana camp too. So the body scan is not really new to me, but I like the overall the structure of it, and I've been doing it since Sunday. So today is my third day, and I really encourage everyone to follow along, because this really gives a lot of consistency and able to look back as we do more. And I think automatically, whenever the mind wanders, you can get back to the attention. Because one thing I was really fascinated and I was noticing myself is that when I walk after lunch, I started observing more on the walkway, the flowers and the different colors of the flowers, which I used to walk and never really care attention to it. But the way the rise in meditation and the way paying attention to it really opens up your eyes and be more presence rather than simply walking along, and you get a lot more benefit of it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next up is Jim. Jim, would you like to share what you got? Yeah.
Sure. No, I didn't actually do the homework for this week, but I just looked at the page like yesterday. But this has motivated me to actually pay attention to the next week and to actually do the exercises and whatnot, watch the videos. But I do.
No, Jim. Let me interrupt. I mean, the idea that we have is to actually represent everything for this week. So the idea is that you use today to kind of get idea of what you need to read up on, what videos you need to see. So you see the videos and you do the practice for the next week on this body scan. So that way, so you're not missed anything. I mean, you'd be a little bit ahead like CP Rao if you had done it a little bit earlier, but it's not too late. I mean, the whole purpose is to get everybody started today for the meditation for the week. Go ahead.
Well, my practice is I do a body scan every day, and followed by a kind of a healing energy flow thing for my body also. It's kind of a lead into meditation. So I have experience with that. It's great for both getting in touch with your body and just relaxation in general. But the thing I'll add is for the last couple of weeks, I've had an issue with my teeth. So my teeth are a little bit sensitive when I eat. So I've been very mindfully eating for the last couple of weeks. I did see the dentist, but because if I get food in a certain spot, it will cause a little jolt of pain. So it's like I've been very mindfully eating every meal very carefully, and I've noticed that at breakfast time, when I'm eating, I look out to a window of a lot of greenery in my backyard. So it's just been very nice, actually, even though I'm very careful while I'm eating, as I'm being mindful. I'm also just observing nature. And the breeze and the plants and the birds and deer that walk through and things like that. So it's been a kind of a pleasant experience to be forced to be mindful in that moment.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Question from Joe. Joe, go ahead.
Hi, Taylor. Thank you for presenting. You had mentioned that we should focus on the process and not necessarily the end. I have a question though. If you know, over the 8-week course that they showed in the study that, or that you mentioned that they showed that progress, would some of our reactions, like you had talked about kindness or empathy, increased levels of empathy and things along those lines, should we see those improvements gradually, in the sense that, you know, say almost in 4 weeks, are there markers that we should be looking for, not to say that we're doing it right, but to see that we're making progress?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that everyone is going to have a very unique experience. So, I mean, it's as simple as kind of like, or I guess an example is maybe you're having an experience of your life that's very difficult for you right now. So your like environment and your external circumstances right now are more challenging than they have been at another time in your life. So if you haven't already had a meditation practice and you're, it's great that, you know, people are picking it up now. That will kind of play into your experience in meditation. And I think the way or one way to kind of track your progress would be in a Buddhist mindfulness way, which this is a mindfulness-based stress reduction course, would be to recognize how equanimous you are with your experiences. So what that means is you're measuring your reaction to your experience. You're not measuring the experience that you're having. You're not saying, I had a good meditation today, my mind was calm, that must mean I'm progressing. You know, it's kind of like, I had a good meditation and I wasn't craving more. I had a bad meditation and I wasn't pushing it away, and I didn't become depressed because I had a bad meditation. So it's kind of just allowing whatever happens to happen and being okay with that. And that's how you can measure your progress.
All right. Thank you, Taylor. What we're going to do now is we are going to go to a poem and a meditation from Easy, and then we are going to go into a breakout rooms. In each of the breakout rooms, so 4 of us, you know, me, Taylor, Easy, and John will be in separate breakout rooms. So you'll be with one of us. And the focus on the breakout room, it's going to be only about a 20-minute session, 20 to 25 minutes, is to say, okay, how are we going to apply this? So focus on simply how will you apply this? You know, what do you need to do in order to apply it? What kind of questions you have? What kind of plans you have? That's what we're going to focus on. And after those 25 minutes, we are going to come back into the main room and share our takeaways from this entire experience. Okay, so that's the plan. So now it is over to Easy for a poem, followed by about a 5 to 10 minute meditation. And then we'll go to the breakout rooms. Easy, it's all yours.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Shrikant. So welcome to you guys who are new, and welcome back to those of you who've been here. The poem for today that I'll be reading to you guys, I'll put it in the chat so you can read along, which helps, or you can just listen, or you can read it and ignore me while I read it to you guys. I think this poem is particularly relevant given what we're experiencing, you know, the social, political climate. You know, we wonder what's our part, what can we do? And I think this points to how relevant and how meaningful and practical meditation really is. And yeah, so I'm gonna, without further ado, I'll give you a poem and I'll read it. Let's see. For some reason I can't paste it here. Okay, if it's okay, I'm just gonna read it and I'll try to paste it later because it seems not to be working. So this poem is called Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches a thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. So that's Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Let me try to paste it again so you guys can use it and read it. Oh, maybe it's too long. Okay, I'm gonna send it to Shrikant and have him put it on the Meetup site. Is that okay, Shrikant? So that people can read it later?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it might be too long to put in the chat.
Sure.
So now we'll move into a meditation. I'm gonna guide you guys. And if you feel like you don't like guided meditations because they're disruptive to your practice, go ahead and mute the chat and put your own timer on. It'll be about 10 minutes. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna guide you through. We're gonna focus on the hands, and then we're gonna focus on the breath, and then we're gonna go back to the hands. And so I want you to start by closing your eyes. Make sure you're in a comfortable position. And clasp your hands in your lap. And now squeeze your hands together, hard, but not enough to hurt yourself. Notice the muscles in your arms contracting. Notice if your hands are sweaty or dry. Keep squeezing. And hold it. Keep squeezing, keep feeling the muscles tensing to accomplish this. And now, release the tension in your hands and just gently hold them together. You can hold them as if you're holding someone's hand. So not clasped anymore, but one resting over the other, either or, your right over your left over your right. So this is the position we'll stay in for the remainder of this meditation. So just feel your hands. Do you have a sense of where your hands are? Try to explore that. Do you have a sense of where they are in space? Can you find the difference between your left hand and your right hand? Now try to notice what sensations are telling you that this is your left hand and this is your right. Just look with your eyes closed. Try to look where that separation is in your perception. And just stay there. Look for the separation. Sense your hands. Okay, now I want you to focus on the breath. It can be a little more difficult to keep, our attention on parts of our bodies, like the hands, that don't have such a clear and accessible rhythm. So that's why I'm going to direct you to the breath instead for a few minutes. So without trying to control the breath, just watch it as it occurs. Your body will do it on its own. Just go along for the ride. You might notice that your breath is shallow or jagged or deep or almost imperceptible, very quiet. Just notice these things without judgment. And shed the label, breathing, and simply feel what it feels like to do what we call breathing. You may be noticing the intake through the nose. Maybe you notice the rising and falling of your belly. Just attend to this process, whatever point in it that comes to your awareness naturally. So again, keeping your hands together, just notice whenever your attention begins to wander from your breath. And just allow it to gently pull you back. You may wander pretty far before you realize you've drifted off. That's totally okay. Just come back. You can always just come back. Now let's return to your hands. So without changing your posture and without moving them, I want you to consider your hands again. Now that you've held them there for a few minutes, explore again how they feel. Can you discern where the separation is between your left hand and your right hand? Can you feel your hands at all? You might notice that what seemed before to be two distinctly separate entities are now a unified blob of quiet sensation. Consider what it means to have your hands together like you have them. I think most of us haven't given holding our hands much thought at all. But let this posture serve as a reminder that you have yourself, that you can always invite yourself to find an anchor to this moment and rest there. Imagine one hand is holding the other to guide you to this place. And now for the remainder, about 2.5 minutes, just stop. Just let yourself stop meditating. Let your mind do what it will. Okay. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you very much, Izzy. Really appreciate that. So folks, next we are going to go to the breakout rooms, and Taylor, Izzy, and John, what we are trying to do with people is that, firstly, only if you are interested in doing this course, not as a whole, but at least for a week, if you want to give it a short, serious try, then come to the breakout room, because the breakout rooms, we are going to be focused on just helping people who want to do the course, answer their questions, give whatever suggestions that we can in order to help them along. So we'll spend about 20 minutes in the breakout rooms, and then we'll come back into this room to share any kind of takeaways that we have. So I'm going to start the breakout rooms, and it will be taken automatically there. So folks, so which of you want to do this? Are all of you ready to give it a try?
I'm in.
Yes.
I'm
Okay.
definite.
Okay, wonderful. So how was it? Maybe what kind of questions do you have? Sarah, I liked your entire approach to this. Looks like you've already done a lot of work.
Okay, thanks.
You know, you filled out the form. I think you have got a good head start. But what we're trying to do here is that, people have busy lives, and we just want to kind of provide this as a way, as a framework to help people. So even if they have not had the time to look at the web page, we want to kind of give a very quick overview, at the same time kind of come up with a kind of shortened version of the program. I mean, the crucial thing about meditation is actually to do the meditation. It really doesn't matter, how many techniques It's the question of, are you going to do the meditation on a daily? And the frequency matters. So if you can do even 5 minutes a day, that will help. And then slowly, you will kind of develop the habit and kind of build up on it. I would also say that different kinds of meditations speak to you differently. So go for meditations which work for you. So, Taylor gave a overview of a lot of things, but just focus on things that speak to you and just use those, because it's not important to actually get, learn everything on that week. The important thing is that pick something that you can practice. And then once you have that going, then you can slowly expand to other things. So Sarah, you have already picked some things that you feel that you are that you'll be able to practice.
I haven't looked specifically at the meditation yet. There are suggested meditations on the website, right? For
yes.
Okay. I was planning to follow those. And I had a specific plan related to just like what I wanted to get out of the course and when I was going to practice.
Perfect.
But I haven't looked at the actual meditation.
Sure. I mean, I would say the simplest thing is the body scan. And that's like a foundational meditation technique, because you always have your body and you can always pay attention to the body. Most people are not aware of their body, and just being aware of the body, like the exercise that Izzy had, was a very good exercise of just kind of noticing the hands or noticing the breath, something like that. So I think body scan is kind of the lowest hanging fruit in this particular category. So if you just, if anybody just does that, I think it would be a good kind of base start for anything. Joe, what about you?
I'm all in. I mean, in the sense that I've done bits and pieces of meditation in the past, and there was a point for a few months where I had a good streak going, where it went really well for me, and then a lot of things I became out of balance. But what happened with just now is that I noticed I had some more intention, and then I also noticed some things that had come up. But I also noticed myself being much more calm when those types of things came up, like that way of, may have been distressing. Like I was actually calm. And I think the poem in the beginning actually was a very good way of doing it as well. That helped a lot with specifically in this environment that we're going through. That was a really great way to go into it, to go into the meditation. So I mean, I need to watch all the videos, and I do have notes for the MBSR. Thank you, Sarah. Mention of the worksheets and setting up a time each day. And busy or not, I should be able to, this is something I can go all in on, in the sense that it's not asking a lot, and I think it'll be good into forming other habits as well. So
I mean, one of the things that I have found, and many of the people who have done this find, is that when you're trying to kind of include a new routine into your day, getting it done in the morning and kind of integrating it into your morning routine, just getting up 10-15 minutes early and doing meditation for 10-15 minutes is the easiest way to do that, because that's when you can kind of get it in. And I think it completely changes your mindset. So you actually get the maximum benefit from it, because it adds a level of serenity to the rest of your day. So
Yes.
that's the recommendation here. Oh, Meryl, what about you?
Well, I actually watched the videos and I read the articles. When I saw the email, I thought, I have not successfully meditated in the past, but one of my friends recommended I try it. So I did do the body scan this morning. I'm not sure if I did it completely correctly. I'm still not clear on how that works. But the thing I liked was saying good morning, Meryl, and I'm going to say good night, Meryl, before I go to bed. So it'll bracket on both ends. Yeah.
One of the things that is good about this course is that it provides so many different ideas that some of them are going to work for you. So like the good morning part, it doesn't matter. And what happens with that, each of the weeks, there'll be some techniques that will become part of you. So you don't need to get hung up on doing everything, just things that speak to you and integrating that into kind of part of your life. And the other thing is that, I mean, the way we have designed this is that we'll be doing this week after week. So you can come back and talk about, there are many people, like, for example, Taylor has a lot of experience with meditation. So she has gone through kind of ups and downs and what is involved in that. So whatever problems you run into, come and talk to people. And not just Taylor, but everybody else who is doing the same, and they may have a solution for the problems. Because generally what happens is that you have to learn to work with yourself, and you're a unique person, and you kind of have to have that kind of gentle working, as if working with a child, just kind of slowly coax in a loving way. And what happens is that when the whole context I'm trying to set up is that even when a person is having difficulty kind of keeping the practice, or in specific parts, they can come and get some help and some inspiration and some kind of a structure to keep going. Okay, so Kavita, what about you?
Good evening, sir. I think this is a very good platform and a good start, especially with the log that they gave in, like how to start a day and how we experience throughout the day and how we end the day. And I think Izzy's poem and the guided meditation sort of helped me, because I also tried doing meditation on my own and I've never succeeded so far. I used to go to this yoga class and they do a similar thing what Izzy does. So when we are like at a pose, they ask us to close the eyes and, feel our breath. And so when I do it on my own, I have all these mental chatters going on, and that kind of distracts me and I go off track, and, it just messes up the whole thing. But I think the guided meditation helps a lot. And also the log is a very good idea to check up progress. And I made a copy of all that, and I was about to read. I just came back from work and I was like in a rush, so I didn't have the time to look at those videos. Maybe next week I think I'll be more prepared. But it was a great start, I would say. I enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kavita. And Kavita, please don't call me sir. I'm not used to it. It's very hard for me. So really appreciate it if you didn't.
Sure, Mr. Shrikant. Will that do?
No, Mr. Also, I'm not used to. I don't think of myself as anything other than Shrikant. So you can just call me Shrikant. Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to start calling you Madam and Okay. All right.
All right. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. No problem. Thanks.
I won't make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to getting into meditation in a more structured way. I just reflecting on, my past, I haven't really tried to use meditation actively, but subconsciously sometimes I've actually just gravitated to being like just closing my eyes and trying to be mindful, especially in times of a lot of stress. It just seemed to be the right thing to do. And if I can take a minute to just share, one of those times is in college, I had to take 4 exams within 24 hours, and it was a really tough and grueling time. And before my 4th exam, I decided that my brain was fried, and I just couldn't really think clearly. And I just put my head down, closed my eyes, and just chilled out for a little bit, and wasn't really trying to meditate, but just trying to just rest my eyes, not going to sleep. And after about 5 minutes, I was able to just open up my eyes, and my head was a lot clearer, and it just felt like I had almost just woken up from a nap, but I hadn't gone to sleep. And that's a similar thing that I kind of had now, just being mindful with the group. It's definitely a skill to be able to have, and to be able to just use it when you're feeling stressed or just worn out. And I think I like your advice of, applying it to your morning routine, but also I was thinking whether or not you find it applicable for like a midday, like siesta time, because that's biologically people are supposed to have a, due to their circadian rhythm, that's supposed to be a time of day when you're very tired and you feel worn out around 2 to 3 p.m. And I was thinking there was a great time then to also be mindful.
Absolutely. I mean, what I would do is that I would just play around with what works for you. I mean, there are many things. There are people who do it at the end of the day, just before they go to bed. That also works. So you just have to work and find out what works for you. All right, so let's go back. Go ahead.
Question. I find I tend to get very sleepy when I've tried meditation in the past. Is there something you can suggest so that I actually can stay awake for the...
Sure. The simplest thing is to do this while sitting up instead of lying down. Sitting up without back support. If you're sitting up without back support, automatically you're kind of more alert, and you are unlikely to go to sleep. Alternatively, you can also not close your eyes.
Okay.
There are meditations where you close your eyes versus not close your eyes. So you can try, and if your eyes are open, and if you don't have a back support and you're sitting up straight, then that itself is a position where you won't naturally fall asleep. The other thing is that, like, when we go forward, there are kinds of meditation which are like walking meditation. So it's like for some people, kind of movement-based meditations work better for them. So you will have to kind of play around and see which ones work better for you. Okay, so we're coming close to 10:27. So I'm going to close this room so we can go in the main room and talk about our takeaways.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi again, everybody.
Hello, folks. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We'll wait for, I think the rooms are, I have all the rooms closed. Let me just check. Nope, everybody will be back in 32 seconds.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
All right, everybody will be back in about 15 seconds. Let's give them that time to come back. All right. So folks, takeaways. What do you think? Just your takeaways, very briefly, 1 or 2 minutes. What are your takeaways? We're beginning something where, this is our idea of doing a course. We think that we can all learn together. I think it's a great resource, which is kind of combination. You can learn on your own. At the same time, you get a quick overview, kind of talk about problems that you might run into. I think it's a great way of building a habit of meditation, learning or taking, if you already have a practice of meditation, kind of taking it to a new level. So that's why we're doing it. But I just want to get feedback from you, just 1 or 2 minute feedback on how this first session was, and how do you see this how do you see yourself doing this course going forward? So anybody can just unmute yourself and speak, or I will just call upon people in order. So Deborah, what do you think?
You know what, I'm reading the Atomic Habits book, and it's reminding me that I have to meditate habitually because
Wonderful.
I'm kind of off and on with it. So this is reminding me the importance of making it a daily habit.
Wonderful. Thank you. Nana, what about you?
Hi. I guess I'm looking forward to it. One thing that I've noticed in this group or this meeting is that there's a nice variety from beginners to people who have doing it for many years. It looks like there's also a beautiful blend of cultural diversity in the group that you tend to have, which I think is going to bring so much more options and ideas and techniques to share. And one thing for me, I feel about not just meditation, but just life in general, spirituality and all, is that it's not cookie cutter. Nothing is cookie cutter. And it's wonderful when you have a safe space that's non-judgmental and that's very open-minded and welcoming and inclusive, to really allow people to develop what works for them and to discover that and nurture that. So thank you.
Thank you. Lynn, what about you?
I'm going to try to do the good morning, I love you, Lynn thing every day. And based on your suggestion last week, I'm going to start doing yoga and then meditation instead of the other way around.
Nice. Okay. Wonderful. G-Phone, I forget your name. Jean, is it?
Yes.
Yes, Jean. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually searching for the right program for meditation, and so I think I will try this one, see if it works for me.
Wonderful. Okay. Excellent. Next up is Noel. Noel, Noel, can you go ahead and unmute yourself? Noel Bolton. Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Yes, Noel. I'm excited about the materials that you've gathered together, both the videos and the articles. And I'm here for the learning experience of it. And just if there's other techniques I can pick up, other knowledge I can pick up. And I just think you've got a great group of people here and a great group of resources. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Excellent. Jim?
Yeah, I think this format is excellent motivation to be consistent and to have an intention each week as we work through the different things that we're learning.
Excellent. Julie?
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here today to learn the meditation. I always wanted to do it, but I just don't understand. I don't know how. And then today I learned a lot. And so I'm going to start become like the one of the, besides exercise, I'm going to put a meditation as also in my schedule. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, thanks, Shrikant. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this course. Somehow I missed the resources before, so I haven't had a chance to get into those yet. I'm going to try to use that next day or two to get into it. And then I next want to try to determine when the best time of the day is to do that for me. I'm no good in the morning until I've had a cup or two of coffee. And I think I probably want to stay away from meal times. And I think I want to avoid bedtime because I'm usually zonked out by then. So I'm thinking probably late morning, mid-afternoon, maybe early evening. But thank you.
Wonderful. Sean?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going through the course materials that you've everybody's put together and has available for us. It seems like a great, non-cookie cutter type of go at your own pace and safe space for exploring meditation and how it works for oneself and not necessarily following how somebody else thinks it should work for everybody.
Excellent.
It's really great.
Thank you. Jay, would you like to comment? If not, let's go to Eddie.
I think Jay's microphone isn't working, so he might.
Okay, sure. Sure. Eddie?
Yes, hi. Yeah, it's my first time going to a meetup like this. I'm really interested in the meditation, and I'm really interested in signing up for the course. So I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Diane? Dion, sorry.
No problem. Hi, I've done mindfulness meditation before, but then I switched into a different kind of meditation. So I'm looking forward to going back to it and with a fresh perspective and in the space of this group container. Thank you.
Wonderful. Alex, what about you?
Hey, yes, we came across this on Meetup, and yeah, like I've been meditating. It's been really helpful the past month, and yeah, looking to find a weekly group that meets up and just to grow and expand my practice.
Excellent.
It was really helpful tonight. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Kat?
I'm new to the meditation, so I learned some stuff today, and I really enjoy it. Thanks for opening this meditation class.
Thank you. CP Rao?
Hey, Shrikant. Hey, hello, good evening. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this program, continue to practice and learn from the group along with everyone. Yeah, I'm really looking forward.
Excellent. Mike? Okay, Mike doesn't have the microphone. Sunshine?
Hello there. I've done focused breathing techniques, but not meditation. So I'm looking forward to learning and doing this course and learning a new habit and discovering a new journey.
Wonderful. Next up is Kavita.
There was another log which said simple awareness and informal practice log. I was kind of like very interested in looking at it, and I think I might be able to use that more than the body scan, I guess, because I appreciate every single feeling and emotion I go through, and also putting it down and recording it kind of gives me a feedback to look back and, like how it felt every other time. And also, I think that this platform helps us to relate us to others, how they are experiencing it, what are the difficulties. So it kind of like gives a kind of like a support group what difficulties everybody is going through. So, and I'm not like alone on this. So I think that's a very good takeaway for me.
Thank you, Kavita. Next up is Joe.
I mean, yes, I enjoyed it immensely, and I very much appreciate the fact that there's a safe space to experience this. And I also noticed just briefly, and that in doing the body scan, when the last 2 minutes, letting my mind wander a little bit, if something stressful had come up, it was actually a calmer reaction that I would naturally have. So it was kind of almost an immediate benefit. So I very much appreciate everybody's contributions this evening.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yes, the biggest takeaways for me were how to maintain motivation and consistency in practice. And I think this group really helps to motivate me and provide some accountability for a consistent practice. And then the course has a lot of structure to help me practice on a daily basis. And so I'm excited to get started.
Excellent. Meryl? Meryl, you're still muted.
I love the good morning exercise. I tried the body scan this morning for the first time. And I love the fact that some of the materials go into some of the difficulties, so that if you're having difficulties, it's not unheard of or rare, and they tell you how to power through it. So thank you.
Thank you. Now the organizers, I'm going to start with John.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to take this course. I feel like I'm going to learn a lot. I really appreciated all the questions, and I think everybody I've seen is coming with a really a beginner's mind, and I think I'm really excited to see some people from all sorts of levels of experience with meditation come at this with a fresh perspective, and looking forward to going through this course with everyone.
Wonderful. Easy?
Yeah, I share everyone's sentiments, and one thing in particular I was talking to my breakout group about was the self-compassion practices, that I recognize how much I really need that, and how much I need to habituate self-love and compassion into my life. And I was sharing how it can feel awkward actually and unnatural to say I love you to yourself when it should be the opposite. And I think this course is a great way to habituate all of us into practices that help us and help each other, and just help humanity gain a higher awareness and higher levels of compassion and peace. So it's been great.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Taylor.
I really liked in my breakout group just hearing the responses from other people and kind of what they heard from the videos and readings, and other people's approach and intake on the same thing, very similar to what John said about just getting a lot of fresh perspectives.
Wonderful. All right, folks. Thank you so much. And I'm just delighted that so many of you are here, and so many of you are excited about doing this. I think I'm going to learn a lot about meditation, thanks to all of you. So see you next time, 1 week from now. Bye.